So this afternoon's topic is a completely new one, which I've not covered in one of my Tech Time sessions before. It's got a bit of a loose description. I call it backshoring, and then somebody asked me, what does it mean? I said, I haven't got a clue. You'll find out this afternoon. But what we're really going to be talking about is the advantage of digital print compared with many of the traditional analog processes that have been taking place mainly in China, but quite a lot in the other Asian countries. What are the advantages of shortening the lead times, of changing the whole dynamic from desktop to end product, and the different influences. And I hope you'll find it interesting. It's a different topic. These gentlemen all have a different idea, which probably has the same conclusion, but what we're looking at is taking the analog element away. There are a lot of factors that will alter and shift the entire way in which some of this stuff is produced. First of all, I'd like my team to introduce themselves. I've got 2 returners from previous years, they're very brave, and 2 newcomers. So let's start on my right.
Okay, so I would like to present myself. My name is Martin Winkler. I'm the head of the textile division of Durst. Quite a long time in the market for digital textile printing. I was invited to share the ideas here with you. So let's start.
Hello, I'm Sebastian Hansens. I'm head of marketing for Caldera. We're a software company developing RIP software and inkjet technologies.
Is that all you're going to say? That was short. For now.
For now. I have a lot of stuff to say later.
For now. And on my left, Oliver.
My name is Oliver Lütke. I'm with Cornet Digital, a market leader in direct-to-garment printing systems, and we also have a roll-to-roll offering. And I look after the European marketing for Cornet.
Thank you. And Ken.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Hanulek. I do the worldwide marketing for EFI's inkjet business unit. That includes the super wide format, the industrial textile, industrial ceramics, the label business, and our wide format business. Happy to be with you this afternoon.
Okay, so we're just going to see how this flows. Like all these sessions, I don't try and predict what the next question is going to be. We do it as we go along. I think the key thing is that we're looking at traditional analog markets, which cover various areas. I mean, obviously it also covers a lot in offset and flexo and gravure. But the key ones, I think, that affect, unless people want to argue with me, we're talking ceramics, we're talking textile, we're talking packaging. We're talking a lot of products where if you can shorten the time from desktop to finished product, you do change the whole logistical dynamic. Durst obviously is familiar with textile and ceramics, as is Ken from EFI with the association with Cretaprint and Reggiani. Oliver is very much a textile man. Sebastian sees the whole lot, I think, from a software perspective. How do you feel that the market is shifting? We'll cover the benefits individually, but, why should people in the West consider the benefits of bringing it all back home? What are some of the benefits?
I believe that digital generally allows us to go to the lot size 1, so it means 1 centimeter or 1 tile or 1 label individually, and that is one of the big chances for us to go into this. This allows us to give us a few new business models. One could be, for example, Spoonflower in the US or other drivers. They then drive the market. For example, in textile, we have this 33 billion square meter production of overall, and there is, I think, a lot of space for these new business models that brings then a lot of production back to the customer. It will not say back to Europe or back to whatever. It's, I think, brings the production nearer to the customer needs. So in terms that a lot of things are going on this way.
So it's more a term of localization.
Localization is, of course, an important word. It's an understanding of the customer needs. In China, we have other quality requirements than in Europe or in Turkey and in other places. So quality, then of course environmental question of shipping around tons of fabric around the world. In the tile business, for example, it was just done that the production is localized due to all this production, the shipping costs.
I mean, let's move to Ken next. You know, you have a similar type of product portfolio to Durst. It's probably closer than Oliver's is. I mean, yours has been, you've been clever because of the acquisition, obviously, of Cretaprint, now of Reggiani. Were these two key elements when you looked at acquiring those companies that you could attach the localization element to them?
Yeah, so I think EFI invests in innovation and technologies really to help our customers drive that analog to digital conversion. And anything we invest in is about that market opportunity where we believe we can make a difference. I agree with Martin's comments. I think probably the best way to say it is people want to print what they want, when they want, where they want it. They want to print one or they want to print several thousand, but it's driven by the consumer demand and the convenience to have it now.
And I mean, Oliver, you know, you're in a very specific market with direct-to-garment primarily and some industrial textile.
Right. Let's maybe get back to the original question a little bit.
Okay.
Backshoring is the reverse process of offshoring, and you kind of asked, is your market, are your products really affected by that? Is it a subject to that? So textile printing, garment decoration also is a very classical offshoring discipline ever since. Between the classic textile printing, garment decorating industry has incredible long lead times. So the stuff that you see in the shelves in H&M in 2 years from now, that's manufactured like right now. And it has been very tempting for the big brands in Europe to, let's say, put the workbench out to Bangladesh, India, China. Wages are low, environmental standards are not quite as strict, and they could afford because the lead times were so very, very long. And of course, we see the trend now that also the fashion markets, the garment decoration markets, they want faster response times. The seasons, the designs are changing more quickly. So indeed, there is a very, very specific requirement to bring production closer to the consumer in order to respond to those trends and market demands. So for us, it's a perfect topic and really a driver of our success eventually.
I mean, Sebastian, you're more from the workflow side of things, the software side of things, and you very kindly agreed to sit on this panel. I mean, how do you see it from where you're sitting, the role that Caldera can play?
Well, from a software perspective, we see a lot of design coming in, and I think it's good that we give the power back to designers, having lower lead times and production that's shorter, because as consumers, the consumer trends are about having things that are different from everybody. And we want some more individualization and less mass. So now we talk about mass customization and more power to the design and what we call in fashion capsule designs, where there's going to be small productions of very few models that people can buy and can change every 6 months, which is now being made possible by technologies from these manufacturers here. So design today is strong, made strong by people like Adobe and softwares like Caldera, which are getting the right colors out and the right designs to the people, and people want to be different. They don't want to have, as Oliver was saying, a H&M design that's 2 years old, because we never know what the market is going to be like today.
But in many ways, you know, what you can do from your side of things and from the design side is that if you need a change, if you realize that maybe a trend is wrong, you've actually got the power to drive that change before there's been too much production. So you're taking control from your end, not from the fact that the printer has already produced 100,000 or 1 million of something, and then you've decided, that colour's not selling, so we need to change it. I mean, Martin, from your point of view there, you know, the fact that you're not tied in, you can affect changes if you want. You know, how much do you think that is a driver?
Can you repeat the question so I could understand quite well?
I can't understand what I'm saying either, okay. So that's fine. just the fact that supposing you produce a particular product, and actually we've seen it happen, it's had a typo on it. But by the time that typo has been spotted, you've already printed 500,000 or several thousand. The actual cost element of that is quite severe, and it's not just textile. It could be packaging, it could be tiles or whatever. How do you see the reduction in overruns because you need to change a design element?
Design limits are, on-demand printing are always other question. I think we are able to do this printing or to change the prints quite fast. We can print it day by day, each meter in a different way. So it's more the question on a quality side that in the whole process, different process in the markets, there have different quality controls happen, and this have to work out in a better way. Of course, having a long production site far away, it's more difficult to achieve this. So that is, I think, the question of to have it more near the production.
And just the whole quality control issue is quite an interesting one, because we can't deny that we have different ideas about standards, and this isn't just China. I mean, this is more local. How do you see the benefit of quality, Oliver? How much easier is it to control?
I hope that no textile designer or textile producer will be stupid enough to spot a typo only after printing 500,000 meters. That would be a bit embarrassing. But of course, the mistake that you can make is to produce a design that does not really hit the market or the flavor or the preference of people. So this is indeed incredibly difficult to find out at the time you produce it. So you make 4 or 5 different collections, and you will find out that one is not working when you start and try to sell it. So of course, digital printing technology in general, let's say, helps you in producing the designs that you already sold versus trying to sell what you already produced. So maybe this is a good way to phrase it. Other than that, the quality discussion in textile printing is still at a completely different, and I mean actually worse level than it is in the graphic arts industry, super wide format printing. So color management, still a topic that requires a lot of work in those markets. Quality control, sampling, proofing, ripping. As Sebastian will probably confirm, this is really, really underdeveloped in the textile markets, because the guys that are printing digitally in those markets, they come from printing, the analog methods, and it has simply not been such a big topic in their eyes.
But the waste factor, if you're printing something analog, it doesn't matter if you start your run and it's wrong and you can adjust the color using screen. You don't want to have to start doing that with digital, because obviously that's going to affect the cost, because if you're printing to demand, you can't factor in a percentage that you're just going to scrap. I mean, Ken, your view on this, because obviously you see it with the ceramics and textile.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Oliver said. We have the ripping technology, the flexibility of the digital workflows. You have the capability to print a very short run, get some market validation, and then pick the designs or the things that the consumers and the marketers really care about. Digital offers you the flexibilities that the analog processes really limit you to.
I mean, Sebastian,
it's fast fashion. It's especially for the end user, it's fast fashion. It goes on demand. After a week of 5 colors in the shops, they know, okay, the yellow version and the red one it's going on, and they are then reproduced in 1 week. So the chain is faster, and that is also the advantage of digital. And digital have then to be nearer to the shops to be able to not lose a week of transport or 2 or customs, and that is what's going on, for example, in Spain for the European market and so on.
I mean, from Sebastian's point of view, where again you're sitting at the front end and watching all this happen, do you find there is a sort of different attitude towards what customers want. Instead of like the traditional wide format market that you're best known for, do you find that people have different criteria when they come and talk to Caldera and say, you know, but we need to do this, we don't really know what colours we're going to want, we want to know how quickly we can adapt something, but we're dealing with manufacturing that at the moment is a long way away and we want to bring it closer?
I think the biggest challenge is about the applications, because when you go into textile and you go into decorations, there's just so many media and so many processes, and it's so much more impact. If you take signage, I mean, signage, you're looking at it from 15 meters away or 20 meters away. There's a certain quality. And now when you look at what digital printing is bringing for hotels, which hotels used to buy carpets, and now it's fully designed. So I'm staying in a hotel in Amsterdam, the Westcourt Fashion Design Hotel, and the carpet is tailor printed. It's their own design for only this hotel, and another hotel is going to have another design. And when I talk about design hotels, this is a new trend. Design hotels have been around for maybe 20 years, 15 years, and now you go into different cities and there's a specific design hotel that has their own specific printing done by these people. So it's about the technologies, but the color and the fact that the design is so different on a different type of media, and you need to tailor that media because it's not going to have the same ink challenges as paper or as banner or as other soft textile. So there's these new markets, and every new market has its own challenge.
And how do you profile a piece of carpet?
Basically the same traditional ways that you do the others. It's a lot of hard work, and you need to profile every substrate. The thing is, people think that there are standard profiles and that color profiling is easy, but it's difficult. You can't print a Pantone that easily on paper as you would banner, as you would on vinyl, as you would on carpet, as you would on all the new textiles, because what is textile? It's cotton, it's polyester, it's acrylic. There's just so many chemicals or so many particles in it that they all have different physical criteria or different physical reactions to color and to the pigments.
And you must find the same thing, Oliver, that but because you know your product and you have a pigmented ink which nobody else really has, it can't be that so complicated for you, because you can print to any fabric pretty much. But for people that are kind of more restricted because they don't know what they're going to put through their machines because they're so governed by the ink, I mean, how much does this benefit you?
Right. I mean, profiling in textile printing, as Sebastian said, works exactly the same way it has worked all the time. So it's about ITA charts and then ICC-based color management support. I guess everybody who comes from the signage end, from the paper printing, from the graphic arts end needs to understand that textiles are a completely different animal in terms of a substrate. There are huge quality deviations. For example, in the garment, even the big brands, as we explained in the beginning, they are sourcing garments from 20 different sources in Bangladesh and the East and I don't know where. And it might well happen that you open the box with 100 shirts and the first 20 print awfully well, and then from the 21st nothing is working anymore. So application knowledge, for example, that's very, very important. Textile printing is not an out-of-the-box job. It's not just print. It's not just hitting the print button. You need to have some proper application knowledge. Talking about our product, and of course I'm not going to go too much into the detail. The Allegro is a very, very highly integrated machine. When Ken, for example, would be talking about short runs, I guess, Cornet would be talking about micro runs, because everything is so integrated that you can print even batches of 1 or 2 meters of individual jobs and you would not waste a centimeter of material in between. Our process is a bit more closed because we use only our own ink. It's a water-based pigment ink that we've been using the last 10 years, so we have a lot of experience with that. So from that perspective, pre-treatment, which is integrated, pigment ink for everything, drying, no steaming, no washing, we take out a few of the variables, which makes it a little bit easier to control indeed.
And are you finding, because of what you can offer, and I mean it's the same with these other guys too, is it actually bringing the temptation back for let's have these machines installed locally and make it localization rather than having to deal so remotely?
Yeah,
Which again is all linked in with the time and what have you.
As a matter of fact, as it is happening, because as we said in the beginning, offshoring is about saving on labor and going around the environmental standards. And all those digital technologies in the markets have one thing in common. They save manual work, manual labor, and they are usually very environmentally friendly because you save a lot of waste. The ink systems are way more environmentally friendly. In our particular case, because our stuff is supposed to be worn on the skin, there are Ecotech certifications, a lot of environmental standards that they adhere to. So indeed, the technology lends itself to this kind of applications and to backshoring, indeed.
Yeah, I mean, just following on with that with Ken, I mean, as well as with textiles, the same principle almost applies with ceramics.
I think with ceramics, certainly the same principles apply. You can do it locally, so there's less carbon impact. Obviously, if you print a bunch of tiles somewhere in the Far East, for example, put it on a plane and send it somewhere, it's quite heavy to ship it around. It does take a lot of energy to fly an airplane with a pallet full of tiles. It takes a long time. Maybe there's damage that occurs. So certainly there's an opportunity if you print it locally. It's a much better economical solution. I think it's even more so true with the textiles and the garments, only because there's a greater potential audience.
I think another point with ceramics, which is one of the obvious ones, is with digital being a non-contact process, you can print to a lighter material. Therefore, you can get more per batch because you're not dependent on the stress that you put a product through when it's on the analog process, surely.
Absolutely. Not only do you have the flexibility of the thickness of the material, you have the flexibility born of really unlimited design. Historically, you've gone to the tile manufacturer, and even if there's a couple hundred, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's very, very limited. With digital, there is no limit to the design. It could be any number of possible combinations.
And then, of course, we come on to the question of customization, which you don't get with analog. Martin, your views on that? Because obviously customization is another reason why digital is going to score over analog.
Definitely. So this customization of each single product, variable data, that is a standard in label, in other segments, and it's coming into textile as well. So we are, for example, offering also a workflow where it's a web-based put in for every data, and then you can process it quite easily and have the end results 2 days later delivered at home. So we have locally here a company, for example, in Netherlands, they bring some textile business back. This is web on-demand printer, and they do this, with variable data. You can print all the things what you want, and that's great stuff and a great opportunity. So that is only one case of hundreds coming up, and that is, I think, the great chance to bring back this work to the customer, to Europe, and to different other countries.
But you can also work to tight deadlines, can't you? Because there's no point in taking a very specialist order where every product is different, whether it's a piece of packaging or a tile or a garment. But you just logistically, you've got to wait weeks or months.
Definitely. And the short runs, that is the other driver for this localized business then. And so that is a good chance and a good opportunity for all to do this.
Yeah, because the key thing is you still want to produce the same volume per day, but that volume doesn't have to be the same product.
It's a huge volume, but the lot size is 1 meter or 1 centimeter, whatever the size is, and you size it, you nest it in digitally, and then you have maybe also 2 rolls going through, and 150 orders in a roll. So that's the chance what we have.
I mean, Sebastian, from your point of view, obviously the VDP side, the customization side, that's got to be a major factor in all these types of markets.
Technically, it's possible. And then sometimes I wonder just what do you do with VDP, because it's been around for a few years. I believe more in customization, and I was in Paris in one of the major department stores, and there was a brand called Coq Sportif, which is a spin-off from Adidas, and they're doing customization in front of the customers. People want their own T-shirt, and they'd come and they'd have the web to print, choose their own design, and they're designing their own T-shirt. And if you look at the major trends, I worked in the surf business. If you look like major brands like Quicksilver, if you look at the evolution of design and how it's changed, it used to be Quicksilver or O'Neill or Billabong. They used to have these great designers from the 80s, from the 70s, Santa Cruz in the skating business. Now the T-shirts, if you look at them, it's just logos, and they're being screen printed because now the power has gone to design. And because of consumer experience, you're going to have stores that are going to buy some machines, and you design your own T-shirts, or parts of the T-shirts will be coming from certain designers, and that's where the power is, in the design, and the fact that the short run is immediate run because you're even printing it in major department stores. Maybe tomorrow these people will invent smaller machines in the department store, then you choose what you want. You'd be printing your skateboard or your surfboard because they're very design-driven industries. Or you'd go to IKEA and they'd print the chair with the design that you would want instead of having something just stuck on it or laminated. So that's some of the challenges of the industry. That's why I say variable data has been talking about is more in commercial printing where you put the names on it, but how far does it go in the textile and in the new design business? I wonder.
But you can all, as you were saying, I mean, you could, if you're using that retail model, you're still in the position that some of that could have been produced screen, and you're just adding a digital element. You pick a base design and then you just add a bit. So, yeah.
Can you go forward? Well, I think variable data coming back again to this argument can be quite interested for example, label industry, or also from some security codes. There are another few fields opening up, so I think there are more challenges that are not visible at the moment. Maybe you will print some special codes on the textile where you give you some identification for brands and so on. There are huge ideas forward to obtain.
It actually brings in another segment that comes under, I think, the same heading as textile and ceramics and some of the specialist areas that are being localized for the convenience factor, is packaging. And obviously packaging is a key one for customization, even though the quality isn't the part of the customized. It might be a sell-by date, or it might be a batch number, or it might be a manufacturer's serial number, but it's the same principle. I know you're not involved in packaging so much, but I mean, you are a little bit, aren't you, Ken? I mean, do you see a similarity there in mentality, if you like?
Yeah, I think for all the benefits we've talked about so far, the benefits of digital printing what you want, when you want, where you want it, very short runs, I think that's going to certainly be a big driving force towards the packaging segment. I mean, today generally there's big box manufacturers that print millions and millions of runs. They ship it around. Maybe the inventory becomes obsolete. It's very expensive. And there is, in fact, no or less relevancy to the consumers of the market. So I think you're going to see a big trend of packaging moving quite aggressively towards digital.
And of course, the thing with packaging is most of it goes in the bin. But more work can go into the packaging than actually badging the product. Go on, Martin.
Drupa is just in front, and a lot of people are going there to see all the new packaging.
I never heard of Drupa.
This is FESPA.
It's another exhibition. But
this is FESPA.
Okay, that's right.
We'll let you
This,
on.
the packaging as an interesting development are going on, and we have a lot of things are going on in this way. We think that it's going quite localized to the customer, to shorter runs, to shorter quantities. But we are a little bit afraid about the knowledge, because everybody's saying everything is easy, everything is 1 meter, but then at the end of the day, you need knowledge. Knowledge to treat paper, knowledge to treat fabric, knowledge to treat ceramics. And this knowledge leak, I think, will be one of the big questions in the future. Starts by color management, starts then by the substrates, by pre-treatment recipes, ending at finishing of textiles. And that is, I think, a big question mark from my side.
But I think just going back onto the packaging side, there is a growing reluctance. People don't want to have a lot of stock. Why should they have a lot of stock? And to bring us back, I know we keep drifting away from the Far East and these other places, but one of the key things about localization is that you haven't got the SKU worry. You can order what you need when you need it. You're not going to end up with a lot of waste. Packaging, I think, probably more than the other two, although it's true with ceramics because the style changes. And stuff is ordered so far ahead, you have to make the order sufficient if it's analog for it to be profitable and enough margin. Sebastian's going to say something.
Yeah, isn't today packaging changing the markets? Because now there's, in many European countries, what we call boxes, and you can subscribe to a box. It's a nice box, digitally printed, which is almost a new design art form because they're using graphics. So in France, for example, there's a jog box, there's a fashion box, and then you're going to get samples of jewelry or of mascara or everything for the jogger. So now the packaging is almost the product, and they just fill it in with different samples. And there are millions and thousands of people subscribing to these new products that are sent to you every month, and you pay like 19 euros a month. So there's the power of the packaging. It's now a product. It's not just what you wrap and you throw away, because my wife is collecting boxes. I have boxes all over the place. And you don't want to throw them away because it's a nice object, and you recycle them. My kids recycle them, put stuff in it. They're the crayons and their small jewelry. So it's a new market, packaging, and it's being reinvented because of technologies that are in place. So I don't see packaging as just something you throw away. And even if you look at everything that's being done in the food industry, macaron or chocolates, look how important the box that you buy the chocolates in is, and how it's being digitally printed. And you don't buy those boxes in China. You don't import them because they change. There's new designs for Easter, new designs for St. Valentine's, working with new designers. So packaging isn't just something you throw away. It's part of the selling process and part of the marketing process.
Yeah, a lot of packaging does get thrown away, though. Even if it's the outer packaging, which simply carries the identification, for shipping. And I do know that there are packaging printers that they'll get their stuff prototyped in the UK. They specialise in the drinks market, but it's actually those outer cartons, they don't know how many to order, they over-order, and that's the bit that gets thrown away, not the nice stuff where you look at it and think this is a beautifully designed box. And from your perspective, you're going to be more involved in the quality end of packaging because of your product. But a lot of the people that are doing long-run packaging, whether it's, whatever analog process they're using, it's not the quality, it's the quantity. If we bring that back in and do it more locally, particularly when the product is manufactured locally, then you're going to cut down on waste, surely. I mean, I can see your viewpoint, but Martin wants to say something.
So every packaging, it goes near to the industry, so it's also, for example, in the textile industry, the people think, okay, to print the bed sheet, to make the sewing together, and the packaging as well, then in line, to have it in a short process. So it's again a process change in this way. So to not buy the printed packaging, it's they do their own and do it on demand, depends on what kind of textile they produce, and so it's going closer, faster, and better into a line.
I mean, I think Sebastian made a very good point. It's actually changed the shape, if you'll excuse the word, of what it all means. It's not it's not the end; it's the means to the end now. And if you're made to want to keep it, then I think that's good. But supposing you bought some Cornet T-shirts, and they're supplied in a box, and they're printed, I don't know, in Europe. Would you actually want to keep that box if you're a retailer?
No, I mean, in that box, it depends what the box looks like, to Sebastian's point. I think you have an opportunity now that's a platform for the brand. It could say, Cornet Digital all over it. It could say Amazon.com. It could be an advertisement or something very relevant to the consumer, not only the product inside, but on the outside of the box. And I think we see more and more, particularly the bigger brands, leveraging that platform to extend their brand.
But you can't do that if you're doing it so far remotely. You have to do it locally because of the local demographic. Different people want different things. Oliver?
I agreed with Ken before the meeting that we would not talk too much about cash, but we did not really touch on the incredible margins that are in all those applications, be it packaging, be it textile, I don't know what. There are so many examples. I bought a computer bag recently, so rather than getting one of those standard bags off the shelf, which would cost me 30, 40 bucks, I went to this website of the San Francisco-based company where you can pick the materials and the colors and everything from which they assemble it, and they can stitch your name on it. And I was very happy to pony up $120. And this is the same dimension or principle, let's say, on all kinds of applications. There are mass customized shoes, gummy bears, you can print your name on M&Ms. And of course, without people really realizing when ordering, they charge you like the double or the triple amount. So it has a lot of economic potential also.
Well, it's going to be margin intensive, which again is something you can't do if it's done remotely.
Absolutely, you're not going to go to a website and order your personalized stuff and then wait 3 weeks until somebody from China ships it to you. So yeah, it's a very compelling case.
Yeah, I mean, Sebastian, how do you see this? Do you have any thoughts on this one? Because again, it brings it back to design, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, I mean, it's the trends, and I totally agree with Oliver. What is the price? The price of having something that's totally personalized for yourself. You look at Nike, you can make your own shoes, choose the different colors that you want and design it. And I think we have fun designing this stuff and making it different from what you see in mass market or just black shoes or brown shoes. And these guys are making it possible through their technologies. It's not just about signs, it's about products and mass customized product, and in the customization, it's your product. So the affection that you have for that product, paying $40 or $100, there's no issue for it because it's yours. You're part of it. You're part of the product. It's your DNA in it, your ideas. So I think that's great, and I think it's great to walk around the show and see all the things that you can do with your imaginations, and the designers walking around are like, wow, that's possible. I go to Cornet booth, wow, that's possible. Think about tomorrow if you need to go to a rock concert. I mean, look at today, the music industry, everything's MP3. So you don't go out and buy your nice records where it's printed and you have this super cover of a Beatles or a Rolling Stones where you remember the lips and the mouth. Tomorrow maybe you're going to have a Cornet machine on a rock concert and you print out your favorite design from your favorite group, and it's not pre-printed, horrible quality, sorry, it's screen printed things from China that on a black t-shirt. So you can be able to choose if you want pink t-shirt, red t-shirt, white t-shirt, and you're going to have it custom printed right away at the concert because you're in the mood.
And another example is, it used to be that the professional soccer team all had the uniforms and the socks and the apparel that all matched, and wow, they looked extraordinary on the big TV. I went recently to my nephew's basketball game, and they look like that team now. They have the matching shoes, they have the matching socks, the uniform, and it's extraordinary that this did not exist just 10 years ago.
It's fully personalized. I was talking with people from Puma the other day, and they have rugby shirts, and now they have logos all over it, and it's being printed by printers. It's not Puma sending it to China and printing it there. It's locally done in the east of France or in Switzerland or in Italy. There are great people in Italy printing on large textile printers and then cutting it out and sewing it and making great soccer shirts and basketball shirts and rugby shirts, even for the major brands.
I mean, the interesting thing is, if we didn't have digital, this wouldn't be happening. Wouldn't be happening at all. And the other benefit that we haven't really touched on, because we're going all over the place with it, but I mean, obviously the environmental aspect. And textile is very wasteful. in the washing processes, particularly. Ceramics is a pretty filthy process. If you do it analog, just the whole operation, the touch points that are involved, the human elements that are involved. But without digital, we wouldn't be looking at any of this. Ceramics was a bit slow, and then all of a sudden, the digital model kind of hit home very quickly, didn't it? There were like one or two failures, and then all of a sudden, wallop, the advantages were recognised and acknowledged. And I think a lot of that was because of the whole environmental aspect and the waste. Textiles taking longer. If you look at you'll know the number off the top of your head. But if you look at the total value of printed textile and how much of that has been converted to digital, it's quite a small percentage still, isn't it?
Yeah.
You probably you all have the same figures.
I mean, one really interesting number talking about pollution. When you think of all the wastewater globally that's produced from industrial processes, how many percent do you believe of that water is caused by textile production? Does anybody have an idea? Show me with your fingers, 4%, 5%, something like that? It's actually 20% of all industrial wastewater comes from textile production, and
Wow.
It starts with growing the cotton, continues with dyeing the stuff, and it's really not a very environmentally friendly process. And of course, it is a very good approach to at least save the pollution that comes with decorating the garment or dyeing the garment. Let's get rid of those rivers or lakes where you see the images from China in the TV shows, where the rivers are yellow or blue or whatever. So, of course, that's a very good approach to do it digitally. And of course, this huge environmental impact is caused by the fact that it's a giant market. We are talking about 7 billion potential users. I need to make sure that I do my conversion right from the German to the English, but I believe we are talking about a $1 trillion market globally, annually. The share of printed textile in all textiles is 16%, and out of those 16%, the digital penetration rate is only 3 to 4% at this point. Because still, it's the same process that happened, let's say, in paper printing 10, 15 years ago. The big quantities, the big runs, the big volumes still go into analog, and digital is doing the small runs and the more creative things. So we are really just at the beginning of a very, very interesting story. And maybe in 10, 15 years, the digital share will only be at 15, 20%. But looking at the base and the absolute number that we are talking about, it's going to make a giant market.
But surely localization, or whatever we want to call it, reshoring, backshoring, is going to play a major role in that. And it might be incremental and start small but grow big.
Yeah, I mean, the more creative and innovative those business models are, again, the more money people will make using it, and the more product will be switched over from analog to digital. It's a very important driver of the dynamics here.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, what's your view on that
the
one?
dynamics going on, for example, only a number as well for the ceramic market. Ceramic market was digitalized in 6 years. So now we can look back and see how fast this segment was.
But it's a quick success story.
Yeah, it's really. We have over 1,000 systems in the market, and the competitors as well. It's a huge amount of machines out. And now it's going on a second way of digitalization. Maybe we go with something like three-dimensional printing, and so give structure to tiles, or maybe in the textile you could then put some other glitter and effects on it. So I think digital is only a starting point to a way, and then you can go on with different sides. And yeah.
So how are you going to bring it back home? How can you persuade people that actually you don't? If you're a brand, why have you got this locked in your mind that the only way you can do it is on cost and volume?
Well, I think the markets come back when it makes sense to do it here. So it's if you see that, for example, this Netherlands company can produce locally on a very good quality, very fast, good textiles, they grow immediately up, and they just ordered the next machine. So it's incredible to see how fast this can come back. But it have to make sense to bring back this production to the customer. And the quality is one, the logistical is the second one, and then environmental as well is the other one, like we said before. And for example, we have also a pigment program where the water is a dry or nearly dry process, so it's this waterways, so environmental conditions, all these things are playing together to a fast change to bring it back the production locally.
Ken.
I think, I had a great mentor when I was in the university, and he said the market never lies and the market will always win. And it's born of economics. True innovation only happens when there's some kind of benefit to the end user. Usually that's in terms of either something that hasn't been capable before, or something that has just economics that just make all the sense in the world. So I think the economics always win, the flexibility born of digital, and all the benefits of innovation.
And I think we've got a couple of minutes left, which kind of brings us back to Sebastian, because if you didn't have the software to be able to create any of these things in the first place, whether it's a changing ceramics design or packaging or textile or whatever, we wouldn't be in this position of being spoilt for choice, really, where we could decide, okay, we want to concentrate more on the design aspect rather than the functional aspect. Well, as you say about hotel carpets or wall coverings, we're not just talking garment, but the key is with the flexibility of the design, isn't it?
The computer age and the software has made design maybe easier, but it's also, as you said, it's a bigger market. There used to be fewer designers, now there's many designers, and people, or new applications like Spoonflower or Redbubble or Spreadshirt are showing that people will want to buy something from a specific designer, and whether there's going to be street art, surfboard, etc., they're going to go to their markets or where their personality is. And now with Inkjet you can buy into those markets. It's not mass market like you would see in Mad Men with the same type of advertisement and the same time of market and the same time of t-shirt that you'd see all over the place. So depending on our interests and the trends, we're going to buy from all these different markets and our personality.
And also at the end of the day, all these things are consumer driven, aren't they? I know Oliver's got a very successful customer who will only sell off Amazon and eBay, doesn't he? And he just...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the names that you're hearing on this panel, of course, are very familiar to me.
Yes, I know they are.
But we have this one customer in Germany. I think it's really an amazing business concept. What all those successful customers have in common, they realize that the digital production system is really just a tool at the end of the chain that needs to produce. It's required, it's necessary, and I'm very happy about that as a vendor. But of course, evenly important is workflow. We talked about it, not only with all respect to Sebastian, but it's not only about the RIP, but it's also about 3D visualization, order intake, storefront, all that sorts of stuff. And in textile, maybe more important than in any other discipline, it's the design of the shirt. So this guy that we are talking about, the customer in Germany, he has his eye on everything that's happening, pop culture. When the next series of Breaking Bad is running on television, of course, he wants to avoid licensing problems. So on his T-shirt, you will see a bald-headed guy who is playing with some blue stones, let's say. And he's putting that stuff up on Amazon and eBay. He has an automated system to do that. He has a workflow interface. And he pretends on all those websites like he has stock of these products. But of course, this is not what he is doing. The order comes in, he starts producing it, it is in the box and it will ship within 10 minutes. He has no stock cost. He's very dynamic. He can react very fast. And from time to time, I'm asking him, so how many shirts do you produce every day? I mean, looking behind the numbers, making a shirt like that will actually cost you €5, let's say, including the shirt. And you know that on those portals, you sell those shirts for 15, 20, 25, depending on quality and your design skills. But when I ask him how many shirts to produce every day, he goes like, oh, if it's a bad day, it's 750. So as the Israelis say, he's laughing all his way to the bank.
I think it's a brilliant business model where, as he said to me, his prototype is the first one he prints. I think we are running out of time, which is sad. But this, I think, is a classic example. I'm sorry to quote Oliver on that one and throw that one at you, but it is a classic example of why you should bring it home, because he couldn't do that if he was
absolutely.
in Bangladesh. There's no way he could do it. Do you have a quick rounding up quote you'd like to make, something you'd like to say?
Well, from my point of view, I think it's a big chance for all of us, doing business, having new chances to drive, chances to gain money, not running millions of linear meter textile with a 0.001 euro cents profit end of the year. So I think it's a pleasure to work into these segments, in these growing segments, give us big chances. Launch new products, space for everybody, and
Sebastian,
let's go.
Anything you'd like to round off with? Any thoughts?
No, I agree with everyone here. It's the power isn't in production; it's the market, and it's market driven. We're just actors trying to get the best quality produced so that the consumers are happy, and then the power is also in the designers, and because they want something unique, and you don't have to produce 500 T-shirts of stock.
Oliver?
I think we all have in common that we have the privilege to be in a segment of the industry where you can still make considerable money. Packaging, textile, ceramics, we mentioned it. One remark about FESPA. FESPA, I think, is the show where you see a lot of this innovation and a lot of those applications. Looking at the other event, which is going to happen in a few months, it's a slightly different mindset, and I'm really happy to be here and to have this great company.
Ken?
I agree with my colleagues. I think anything that can go digital certainly will go digital. There's nothing but opportunity around literally every corner. We're delighted to be part of the FESPA community because there's so many great entrepreneurs, innovators, and just great ideas that are shared in this community, and just a great opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, and just before I thank everybody, I think one of the interesting things is it's actually, this whole thing is consumer driven from beginning to end. The consumer will drive the brand. The brand somehow has to understand that the technology is there and that they don't have to rely on the former analog mindset and time scheduling and logistics. And I think that's actually probably the most difficult bit, is that communicative side which says the technology is here, but you've got to put your faith in it and do it locally. So on that note, I'd like to thank my panel and send them away for something to think about, and hope they'll come and join me again next year if I'm asked, and see how this topic has moved on in 12 months, which I think it will. Thank you very much, team.